begin with the fact that Kapiva, a healthcare brand focused on Ayurveda-based products, has in fact raised $60 million in a Series D funding round. In fact, funding was by 361 Asset and Vertex Growth with participation from existing investors, Vertex Ventures, Southeast Asia and India, and 314 Capital. In fact, to talk more on this, we have Ameve Sharma, founder Kapiva, joining us on the show. Thank you very much for taking the time out and joining us here this evening on Startup Central. First, let's begin with the fact that congratulations are definitely in order on the fact that you have been able to raise $60 million. But what does this milestone really mean for Kapiva's growth journey?
So, hi, thank you for having me on board. Pleasure to be here. So, firstly, just to clarify, majority of the money that was raised was actually used to exit some of our
Hmm.
early angels and our key early investor fireside ventures. That itself, for me, is a huge milestone for the organization, right? Where we've gone through one entire successful investor cycle, where we've actually got on board new investors and managed to exit extremely profitably old investors, right? So I think it's a great milestone for us and shows, the kind of longer term vision the company has with the next step being around IPO. I think from the about 60% of the money we raise would be for secondary. The balance is focused on investing primarily in R&D, but also at sort of global expansion. So the vision we have, for Kapiva is that can we actually build Ayurveda into a highly clinically validated, standardized healthcare system, which marries the best of our tradition with the sort of new age practices around standardization and validation, right? So that's the dream that we have. Our top product is actually our supplement for diabetes. We have a gym supplement that we are extremely growing extremely fast, which is also the largest herbal gym supplement in India. So the idea is to invest heavily around R&D for some of these key products, as well as continue our expansion in the UK and the US.
As you point that out, speaking about the vision, there's so much to be talking about that. But let me take a cue with one word that you did say, IPO. What is that
Sure.
looking like on the horizon for the company?
No, still early days. So we are looking, this was a pre-IPO round for us, right? So we are still about a couple of years away,
Yeah,
right? But we're going to
yeah,
be starting the process. We're currently about a
yeah.
550 to 600 crore revenue business. We want to get across the 1,000 mark before
Hmm.
we kind of hit the market. So still a couple of years to go. But I think now we're starting to think about that as time goes on and start preparing for it.
All right, and that perhaps will call for another conversation when that does happen and how
Absolutely.
that pans out. But here, what I want to get your viewpoint about is, the new investors also that we've seen that are, of course, backing the growth strongly as well. But what's the strategic push they bring more? Is it R&D muscle, the brand building, or the global play?
Sure. So a couple of different things, right? So Vertex Ventures, which is also a fund which is primarily owned by Temasek, has a later stage fund called Vertex Growth. So Growth's entry was almost like a continuation of the current cap table. So they knew us well. So that shows a lot of confidence in the current investor base. 361 was the largest kind of investor in this round. And, we were very keen on a couple of things, right? I think but for us, this is the heritage of India that we're taking, and we want to build it not only in India, but for the world, right? So one thing we were very keen on was getting a India investor, right? As the key sort of lead investor. And 361 was something that being from India, us building something which is truly Indian with Indian heritage, I think that fit for us was really exciting. I think beyond that, it was a meeting of minds. I think the 360 team had a good understanding of our larger vision, had a point of view around, where we continue to invest more and more into R&D, and they were very comfortable with that. So I think there was a lot of strategic sort of clarity on both ends where the long-term vision aligned. But yeah, I think the core thing was that we wanted to get an Indian investor as well to back, something which is from India and India's heritage. Uh, I think, we're talking about IPO plans as well. 361 was a great partner to have on board, and their pre-IPO fund genuinely helps companies get ready for and sort of go to IPO. So I think that was another benefit that came on board.
All right. So all in all, that's the kind of synergy that has come through for the company. But let me ask you this:
Absolutely.
given what we're seeing, and you'd perhaps be able to put that into perspective better for the sector as well. And look at how crowded the Ayurveda and the wellness market has now become, which also obviously means
Sure.
there are more choices for consumers. But what's the
Sure.
single biggest differentiator that keeps Kapiva ahead of both,
Sure.
let's say, legacy giants as well as newer companies? That is.
Sure. I would actually say the opposite, Nivetana, right? I actually think that the vision that we have, right? If you look at
Okay.
Ayurveda in India, it's
Hmm.
roughly about 0.5% of healthcare,
Hmm.
right? That same number is closer to 15% in China, right? I think while there are large legacy players, right? I think Ayurveda as a healthcare system is highly underinvested in, right? In fact, I'm one of the few founders who are constantly encouraging people to enter this because we want to build a movement, right? We want to build a revolution in Ayurveda, and no one company can do that alone, right? You need an ecosystem. So I cannot think of the next sort of large scale Ayurveda healthcare company in India that is investing into R&D and that is actually thinking about Ayurveda as a true modern healthcare system, right? And that is a game changer. I genuinely invite young founders to start thinking about this space, thinking R&D first, thinking healthcare first, and building companies here. Please come talk to me. Even though it might seem like competition, I will support you because I think it's an ecosystem we need to build to take this forward, right? And no one company can do it alone.
Right. So fair enough. For the ones listening, perhaps Mr. Sharma has given us those details that you can reach out to him to perhaps get that synergy going in terms
Absolutely.
of the key takeaways that they can learn from what the success story has been for you. But on that note, I want to thank you very much, in fact, for joining us on the show. But for the
My
moment, we
pleasure.
leave the conversation.